heroes are dead.
In the ever-expanding Marvel Cinematic Universe, audiences have come to expect thrilling action, compelling heroes, and interconnected storytelling on an unprecedented scale. Yet, as Marvel pushes into Phase 6, a daring new chapter emerges. One that takes the familiar world of superheroes and drenches it in horror. Marvel Zombies, the upcoming 4-part animated miniseries on Disney+, offers a chilling reimagining of the MCU where hope battles despair and the line between hero and monster dissolves. With a bold TVMA rating, the series promises to venture into darker territory than ever before, unflinching in its depictions of gore, chaos, and survival. This is not just another spin-off, born from the haunting What If episode that first introduced the idea of a zombie-ravaged Marvel universe. The show now expands that nightmare into a fully realized story. Beloved MCU actors return to voice their roles, anchoring the horror in the same world fans know so well. Yet it is the newcomers, most notably Blade Knight, a hybrid of two iconic legacies, who capture attention, signaling Marvel's willingness to take creative risks and surprise its audience. The trailer wastes no time setting the tone. The Avengers you once knew are no longer saviors but predators, their hunger transforming Earth's mightiest heroes into Earth's deadliest threats. Survivors like Ms. Marvel, Shang-Chi, and Yelena Belova stand at the heart of this desperate struggle, fighting not just the undead but the looming dread of what humanity itself might become. This introduction to Marvel Zombies is more than a tease, it is a warning. In this world, no hero is safe, no battle is clean, and every choice could be the last. To understand the gravity of this new series, we must first ask, what exactly is Marvel Zombies? At its core, it is a haunting reimagining of the Marvel Universe, one that strips away the familiar triumph of good over evil and replaces it with a grim tale of survival against overwhelming odds. The premise is simple yet terrifying. What if Earth's mightiest heroes, instead of saving the world, became the very plague that threatened to destroy it? The concept first came to life in the comics of the mid-2000s, where Marvel dared to experiment with darker, horror-infused storytelling. Those stories became cult classics, shocking readers with grotesque imagery and the unnerving sight of iconic heroes, Spider-Man, Captain America, Iron Man, reduced to flesh-hungry monsters. Years later, Marvel Studios introduced mainstream audiences to this chilling alternate reality in the animated anthology What If, with the unforgettable episode What If Zombies. That single installment ignited a wave of fan demand, proving there was an appetite for exploring Marvel's most unthinkable nightmare on a larger scale. Now, with Marvel Zombies, that nightmare expands into a full 4-part miniseries set to premiere on Disney+. Unlike anything that has come before in the MCU's animated library, this project embraces a TVMA rating, signaling that audiences will be confronted with raw violence, bloody encounters, and unsettling choices. Directed by Brian Andrews with Zeb Wells as head writer, the show retains the stylized, cel-shaded animation of What If, but laces it with chilling horror aesthetics designed to unsettle even longtime fans. It is more than just a side story, it is a bold experiment. By pulling together an ensemble of returning MCU voices, introducing the hybrid warrior known as Blade Knight, and placing survivors like Ms. Marvel and Shang-Chi against a devastated, zombie-infested Earth, Marvel Zombies reinvents the superhero narrative. This is Marvel at its most daring, asking its audience to imagine a world where the shield, the hammer, and even the webs of Spider-Man no longer symbolize hope, but hunger. At the heart of Marvel Zombies lies a cast as haunting as the story itself. Unlike many animated spin-offs that rely on sound-alikes, this series brings back a remarkable lineup of familiar MCU actors, grounding the chaos in voices audiences instantly recognize. Elizabeth Olsen lends her chilling presence once more as the Scarlet Witch, now transformed into one of the most dangerous forces among the undead. Paul Rudd returns as Ant-Man, balancing dark humor with grim survival in a world where his optimism is constantly tested. Florence Pugh and David Harbour reprise their roles as Yelena Belova and the Red Guardian, injecting the story with a dose of humanity and familial grit. And joining them are Simu Liu as Shang-Chi, Awkwafina as Katie, Haley Steinfeld as Kate Bishop, and Tessa Thompson as Valkyrie. each of them thrust into a fight for survival that none of their training could have prepared them for. But perhaps the most intriguing addition is the arrival of Blade Knight. Voiced by Todd Williams, this character fuses the vampire hunting legacy of Blade with the mystical force of Moon Knight, creating a hybrid warrior uniquely suited for a horror-ridden world. His presence signals something vital, that even in the darkest corners of the MCU, Marvel is unafraid to reimagine its heroes in bold, unexpected ways. While fans may lament that Mahershala Ali does not voice Blade here, Blade Knight offers a glimpse into what could be the future of animated experimentation within Marvel storytelling. Survivors like Iman Vellani's Ms. Marvel, Wyatt Russell's U.S. Agent, Dominique Thorne's Ironheart, and Randall Park's Jimmy Woo add depth to the ensemble. Together, they embody not just a roster of fighters, but a tapestry of perspectives, some hardened, some hopeful, all haunted by loss. The undead Avengers they face, twisted versions of the heroes they once admired, serve as both physical threats and emotional reminders of what the world has lost. Through this carefully assembled cast, Marvel Zombies amplifies its central theme, that in a universe defined by heroes, even the strongest symbols of hope can fall. And when they do, it is the resilience of the survivors, the voices that still dare to fight, that carries the story forward. Among the many surprises that Marvel Zombies unveils, none stand out more than the introduction of Blade Knight. This character is not a simple transplant from the comics or a familiar face from the MCU. Instead, he represents a bold fusion, melding the vampire-slaying heritage of Blade with the mystical, fractured identity of Moon Knight. The result is a warrior uniquely tailored for a universe overrun by the undead, a lone figure who embodies both relentless discipline and supernatural resilience. Voiced by Todd Williams, Blade Knight marks an intriguing shift in Marvel's approach. Fans had long anticipated Mahershala Ali's debut as Blade, yet here, the role takes on a different form. While some may see it as a departure, others recognize it as an opportunity, an experimental step that frees the animated realm to carve out new legends without the constraints of live-action expectations. In many ways, Blade Knight is less about replacing a character and more about reframing him for a world where traditional heroics are no longer enough. The design of Blade Knight carries symbolic weight. His arsenal is not just forged for vampire hunting, but adapted for survival in a post-apocalyptic wasteland. His demeanor reflects both the stoicism of Mark Spector and the lethal precision of Eric Brooks, a blend that speaks to the desperation of the world he inhabits. He is not the polished champion of a grand saga, but the scarred survivor of a nightmare. Through him, Marvel signals its willingness to blur boundaries, merging mythologies and challenging audiences to reconsider what defines a hero. In the larger narrative, Blade Knight becomes more than a character. He is a statement. He demonstrates how even within the shadows of horror and decay, new heroes can rise from unlikely fusions. His presence ensures that Marvel Zombies is not just recycling the past, but forging something original, something daring, and something that may redefine the possibilities of Marvel storytelling. The trailer for Marvel Zombies wastes no time in setting the stage for the horrors to come. It opens with a world already consumed by infection, where the once celebrated Avengers no longer fight for justice, but stalk the living as predators. What follows is a torrent of grotesque imagery. Spider-Man and Blade Knight cutting through hordes of the undead, Scarlet Witch unleashing unholy chaos, and survivors navigating landscapes drenched in fear and blood. This is not the polished spectacle of a typical MCU outing. It is raw, jagged, and unrelenting. What stands out immediately is the unapologetic tone. For the first time, Marvel Studios' animation embraces the TVMA rating, and it shows. Limbs are torn, flesh is devoured, and the violence is neither hidden nor softened. Yet amid the carnage, there is artistry. The cel-shaded animation familiar from What If is still present, but here it has been reimagined. Shadows linger longer, colors bleed darker, and the very style seems to echo the decay of the world it depicts. Every frame is a reminder that the rules have changed, and the MCU is willing to confront the kind of horror it once only teased. Beyond the gore, the preview teases the emotional stakes. We glimpse moments of resilience. Ms. Marvel rallying survivors, Shang-Chi wielding his rings against unimaginable odds, and Kate Bishop staring down the abyss with youthful determination. These flickers of hope clash against the overwhelming dread of a world where no sanctuary feels safe. And threading through it all is Blade Knight, cutting a path through the darkness, his presence both a weapon and a warning. The trailer doesn't just promise violence, it promises tension. It asks a chilling question. When the protectors of Earth become the plague itself, who can possibly survive? By leaning into that dread, Marvel Zombies distinguishes itself not only as a spin-off, but as a bold experiment in what Marvel storytelling can become. At first glance, Marvel Zombies may appear to be just another spin-off, a darker branch on the ever-expanding tree of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. But in truth, it represents something far more significant. For the first time, Marvel Studios is openly embracing a mature audience, venturing into territory once thought too grim for its mainstream brand. The TVMA rating is not a gimmick. It is a declaration that Marvel is willing to experiment with tone, pushing beyond family-friendly spectacle into stories that are brutal, unflinching, and deeply human. The series also speaks to Marvel's confidence in animation as a powerful storytelling medium. No longer confined to light-hearted adventures or experimental anthologies, animation here becomes a canvas for horror, despair, and survival. In doing so, it broadens the scope of what fans can expect from the MCU. If superheroes can be reimagined as monsters, if Blade can be reborn as Blade Knight, then the boundaries of this universe are wider and stranger than anyone imagined. Beyond the creative risks, Marvel Zombies matters because it taps into something universal, our fascination with survival against impossible odds. Stripped of their powers or betrayed by their fallen idols, the survivors embody resilience, sacrifice, and the raw instinct to endure. It reminds viewers that even in a world of gods and legends, it is the human will to fight on that defines true heroism. In many ways, this series is a mirror. It forces fans to confront uncomfortable questions. What happens when our symbols of hope fail us? What becomes of faith in heroes when they themselves become the threat? By asking these questions, Marvel Zombies transcends its premise. It becomes not just a horror story, but a reflection of the fragile balance between hope and despair in every world, real or imagined. Marvel Zombies is more than just another entry in the Marvel pipeline. It is a test of boundaries, a daring experiment that asks what happens when the brightest heroes descend into their darkest forms. From its chilling origins in the What If anthology to its evolution into a full TVMA series, it carries with it the weight of expectation and the thrill of the unknown. Its cast bridges the familiar and the unexpected, with returning MCU icons lending their voices alongside bold reinventions like Blade Knight. Its preview highlights prove that the series will not hold back, embracing horror, gore, and despair with the same conviction that the MCU once reserved for hope and triumph. And at its core, it matters because it pushes Marvel into uncharted waters, where survival is no longer guaranteed, and the line between hero and monster has all but disappeared. As we prepare for its release, one thing is clear: this is not the Marvel you've known. This is Marvel stripped bare, its optimism devoured, its legends reduced to nightmares. Yet even in this bleak vision, a spark remains: the survivors who fight on, the new heroes who rise, and the questions that linger long after the credits roll. So when Marvel Zombies lands on Disney+, it won't just be another show to binge, it will be an event. A moment where Marvel dares its audience to look into the abyss and ask, if even the mightiest can fall, what does it take to truly survive? And that, perhaps, is the ultimate twist. Not the gore, not the zombies, not even the fall of our favorite heroes, but the reminder that in every universe, the fight for hope never dies.